This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, true seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. We have a full crew today. We would like to welcome to the show Nolan Del Campo.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Always. Do you get a chance to see last week's?
I haven't. I've been so busy. I haven't.
As okay. It's a good one.
Yeah.
I did one slide the entire 50 minutes. That's Wow. How good it was. And we are welcoming back to the show again this morning, Harriet Suchet.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Good morning, I hope.
And and that person responsible for that one single slide that I made it through last week, Lindsay McBrayer.
Hey, guys.
Good morning. So I thought...
I noticed it didn't show my my name up there.
We're not even seeing your picture at this point.
Your video is not coming through.
Yeah, we're not seeing a video from you, so of course we're not seeing you at all right now.
But you can hear me. Cool.
But I can hear you, and that's all that matters.
Right, so
what's that?
Could she activate her camera?
Well, I'm not going to worry about that now. If that was something, we should have handled that much earlier. So basically at this point, I had some like revelations, obviously, that came about this last week. And of course, Nolan, you kind of preempted some of those thoughts in my mind late night in regards to JonBenet Ramsey. And all I could think was, bless your heart. What's that?
I saw your magazine picture.
Yeah, we're going to cover that right now, as a matter of fact. First, I'm going to go to the presentation because what I really want to talk about is this release of information that Trump is doing in regards to these major cases. So I had a friend, and this is typically what happens, is I've got a crew of people whenever something comes out or something happens in the case, whether it's another false suspect or an article that I should read, I get reach outs from my crew. And my friend Doug, who I've gone to, I literally went to school, elementary school with, I believe, all the way up till now, we have maintained a friendship. And he sent me the link to this particular Truth Revealed news release in regards to the JFK, RFK, and MLK files in regards to these crimes. And of course, as I'm listening to this thing, I'm literally bouncing on my seat because he also states he's going to release 9/11 documents, the Epstein client list, and the origin of COVID. I about fell out of my chair and I thought I was going to cry. I mean, I was overly emotional just listening to this thing, wondering whether or not this is going to actually come to fruition. But it sounds to me like they're hot and heavy on it. I had often wondered, after hearing that he had stated he was going to release this in his first term, that what happened. I'm guessing that somebody had come to him and said, nope, you can't release them. Well, he literally says in this video, and I'm going to give you guys the URL so that you have it. It is https://youtube.be/cap KJU cap Y cap E cap H IQGK (SI) equals S3 cap T M9 cap E cap X cap K C cap G E cap H hyphen E cap Y hyphen. This will take you to that. For those that are listening, you can type in that particular URL and see these videos yourself. What he did say in Truth Revealed about floored me. He said that he was going to release this stuff the first time around, and there were people that came to him and told him he couldn't. And that the reason for that is that there were people who were still very much alive who could be affected by this. I've been saying that. I know that's my point, but that I have been saying that same thing for probably 15 years now. That there are people still very much alive that this could affect, and until we see that shift change, we were likely not going to get that information. Just like the MK Ultra files or Artichoke or Paperclip or any other programs that they had going on. So to hear him actually say that come out of the president's mouth, that he was told not to, really seals the deal. When I tell all these people who are in a huff about what Trump might do during his term, is that you guys got to realize they all play ball together, and Trump is not going to be allowed to do anything they don't allow him to do. And that right there was the proof I was looking for. And the truth is proof. So when we hear that coming out of the president's mouth, it should solidify for everybody that they are one team against us, period. The second video that climbed into was tremendous fraud and tremendous abuse. Donald Trump on Doge's findings. And it looks as though they're going back through all the government contracts. They found one that I think they stated was something like $52 billion is being paid to a hotel, I think in New York, that has 100% occupancy. They're charging double the room rate for illegal immigrants. And this money is fraudulently being put towards those particular hotels and government contracts. He says him and Elon Musk stated that they had found billions, if not $1 trillion, of misappropriated taxpayers' dollars that are going to government contracts that they should not be going to. And it is their goal to reduce that outgoing debt so that we are down to, say, $1 trillion. And in the hopes of that, be able to lower interest rates for mortgages and for cars and for things like that. This is the kind of stuff I want to hear. This is doing for the people and not for yourself. Anybody have a take on this?
Well, let's go back to the Kennedy files being released. First of all, so two significant things. A, more than one shooter. At least
yes. Yes, they said that. At least two.
Obviously, then that means conspiracy. And cover up and terrible investigation by the FBI. And Alan Dulles was on the damn Warren Commission.
Were you trying to say something, Harriet?
Oh, no, I was just going to say that according to Jack, it's 4 shooters, but 2 of them definitely hit Kennedy. So this is making a lot of sense.
At least 3.
Well, and the information I got from that gal who was discussing the 2-shooter, I'm not even going to say possibility anymore. We know it's a reality. She made it sound as though it was people centrally located around JFK. And I theorized then that our 3rd shooter, being the patsy, who likely didn't even get a shot off, being Oswald, but then that 4th shooter, like Harriet's talking about, is a complete plausibility as well. So while she's only stating, and she says she's just barely gotten into these documents, so she's saying just starting these documents, she says it's clear that there were at least 2 shooters. Yeah. So Oswald creates a 3rd shooter theory, and then Harriet says there's a 4th involved via the messages.
Yeah, well, there's
shots were fired.
There's 2.
Hold on, Nolan. Go ahead, Harriet.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Harriet.
Oh no, really quick. Jack says it's the 2 shooters that were on the railway, and then there's the one coming from the sewer that was later changed as the years went on. The sewer shape, anyways, and then there was Eugene Hale Brading, and it's a crossfire, just like. What's his name? Jim Myers. He wrote a book. They got a bestseller about the crossfire. So that's what happened. It's amazing, all these years later.
That Brady fired from the Deltex building, which would have been behind Kennedy. Someone fired from the book depository. Probably wasn't Oswald. Someone definitely fired from the grassy knoll. That was the kill shot to the temple. And then someone may have fired from the Stemmons overpass. The car was heading in the direction of, which is in front of the president.
So you've got it coming in from all angles, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Makes
A
a
crossfire.
lot more sense.
And it makes, if you plan these things, you got to be successful. You have to make sure you succeed. Otherwise, you can get caught.
Do you have a take on this, Lindsay? Have we lost her? Oh no, I think we've lost
Lindsay.
her. That's all right. So before going back to cover the medium, what's that?
It's told one to try and get her back in.
Go grab her. One. So basically we're looking at not only the release of major information that can affect the thoughts and ideas and concepts of many Americans, and for all of those that wanted to stay tried and true about the single bullet theory, that it's a conspiracy, or that we're conspiracy theorists for thinking otherwise than what the government has told us, we can already see that that's coming out of the wash, and we're going to start seeing some truth. Now, whether we see all the truth or not is another thing, and whether or not we see them actively go after these individuals for these illegal government payouts that they've received over these years is another thing. And will that be given back to the taxpayers? Those are my questions. So before we go back, go ahead.
I have one more point. Yeah. Arlen Specter, as far as I know, is still alive, and I think he might even still be in the Senate. And he's the one that came up with the magic bullet theory. So it's going to make him look stupid when now it's proven that there's more than one shooter.
Right.
He was on the one missing.
And these are the people we elect to run our government. So before going back to cover the media magnet and syndicate of Rupert Murdoch and the John Walsh connection, I want to look at another major media syndicate, because this is what Nolan brought to my mind in the wee hour of the night a few nights ago. And that is a magazine that was purchased for me by a friend, knowing that I was involved with the Zodiac stuff. And anytime something came out with the Zodiac, he would pick these items up for me. So this is People's Magazine. It says to remove from stands by January 7th of 2022. So I want to say it was probably a 2021 issue. And it actually had set right next to each other the Zodiac Killer and John Benet Ramsey. And that's what intrigued me the most. Now, as I go back, learning the things that I have learned and covering the things that I've covered over the last few years, because I started the podcast after I had received this magazine. So once I read what I thought was my fill, I kind of set it aside and kept it all these years. And when I noticed at the bottom, we can see over here, Bob Crane. Holy crap, I about fell out. I'm like, is this looking like an entire collection of the unsolved crimes involved with this group? I know that when I was initially doing the search for Robert Graysmith's lists of unsolved murders, I wasn't able to find as many as I thought I could. And of the two murders listed on Wikipedia as unsolved crimes, it was the Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac that I was sure was not part of this group, right?
Right.
Well, it's that they were retaliatory, that they were after each other, but who knows?
Who knows? So now I'm staring at the Notorious B.I.G. in this catalog next to John Benet and the Zodiac above Robert Crane. Now makes me actually want to look at these other two cases. One is a nun's murder, which I thought would be right up Harriet's alley, because you find, or you believe, that the Catholic Church is involved with this type of stuff. And what
somehow, yeah. Which nun? Is it the nun I think it is?
I'm not, I'm going to have to go back. And again, this happened late night.
Oh, yeah.
I hadn't planned this, but I will research their murders and see when this nun was murdered. It's a black and white picture of her, so I'm going to think that it's going to be, many, many years ago that she was killed.
Yeah.
But I did find that interesting. And as I started to go through the magazine, I found myself even more interested in how this news coverage lines up with the news coverage of the past. So, of course, as I'm going through it, I start seeing things like targeting kid killers, new clues and decades later in a teenager that's missing, and she's pictured there at the bottom of that. Were they murdered? Best friends poisoned in paradise. Like some of these things that are going on in here, and they actually look like somebody who might even be like kind of mob related. I don't know. That might have been
there's
just
that
me being.
paradise word again.
Yes, best friends poisoned in paradise. Let's see, what else did they have in here? Cold case heats up, you guys. I about fell out of my chair when I saw this one. The Keddy Cabin murders are in here.
Yeah, that's funny. Everything we've been discussing lately is in that magazine.
Is in this article. Little Man Lost. Dior Coons, but I want to say that this one was out of the country. Not that takes the group off the list. Cry in the Night, another little baby that is dead.
I'm sure John Walsh is in there.
You know, he's not.
Oh wow, I'm so shocked.
Let's see, New Mexico State, Road 47, another female that is missing. Of course, they've got the notorious Zodiac Killer stuff in here. Let's see, what was another shocker for me? Oh, Sister Kathy. Do you know who that is?
Isn't that the singing nun?
It says the murder of a 26-year-old Catholic nun stunned Baltimore nearly 50 years later. A Netflix crime series, The Keepers, asked if she was slain by a random killer or because she knew too much. And that, right?
Oh my God. Yes.
What's The Keepers?
So it is in connection with the Finders cult.
Really?
Oh, there you go.
And
Yep.
the
The
Franklin
Keepers
scandal.
is the Finders cult. That's right.
Yep.
and how does the Finders cult play
cult?
into this? Finders.
Because of the Franklin scandal and the St. Paul Church for the boys, and not the church, but the school for the boys school.
And I did want to. No, well, I don't know. Where is it?
The nun was in Baltimore, right?
Yes, that's what that says.
Well, it's in all connection with the Catholic Church and like St. Paul, that type of deal.
Harriet had a solve that mentioned the Franklin Club. Lindsay put together that the Franklin Club could also be what?
Frank Sheldon.
And he is?
Well, Sheridan Hospital, not hospital, Sheridan Hotel.
The island, another island. What is it?
Fox Island?
Fox Island, there you go. And then we have Fox TV and Fox Television, and there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so yes, they do cover who killed Bob Crane. They also cover, which I thought was not a coincidence, the Golden State Killer, Joseph D'Angelo. And last but not least in this magazine is I turned him in. My father was a serial killer, and they're talking about Ed Edwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Connected to TV to tell the truth and a whole bunch of amazing things. But can I ask really quick, is Mackinac Island in Michigan, is that very close to Fox Island, or is it a different name for it?
I think that is close to Fox Island, Harriet.
Okay, see, then my solve that I'm working on that I haven't finished yet is bringing up that has something to do with Mackinac Island, and Kathy O'Brien is vindicated, and somebody named Linda MacDonald is vindicated. Anyways, I was like, damn, this is coming up with very familiar territory.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
and I'm
Mackinac
gonna have to
Island.
look up those names, and kind of make a chart, because I think I do know those names for sure.
Yeah.
Well, my goal with this, actually, after seeing all of this stuff and going absolutely hypey and nearly falling out of my chair, is to go back and read the evidence that People magazine is actually putting forth in regards to these cases and see if they run tandem, parallel, horizontal, or, crisscross to what we already know. Yeah. Well, that made me...
I would love to see that chart. Oh my God.
Exactly. And that made me wonder who the heck is People magazine and who owns People magazine. So my research of this shows that Andrew High School, who was the chief executive officer of Time Inc. at the time and the former publisher of the Weekly Life magazine, is credited with coming up with the idea for People. The founding managing editor of People was Richard Stoley, a former assistant managing editor at Life and the journalist who acquired the Zapruder film of the JFK assassination.
Oh my God.
This is what
worked on that.
So yes, and he received that in 1963. People's first publisher was Richard J. Dick Durrell, another Time Inc. veteran. So Time probably is just right up there within the mix of all this too, if this is a spinoff of Time magazine. Now making a lot more sense as to why all of these particular unsolved murders were collectively placed in a single magazine. And the psychology behind that is that if we put all of these different random, they look like they're not connected at all, unsolved murders, that nobody would actually connect and put them together. But that's exactly what we've done.
Yep. Oh my God, I have chills.
One thing about Life too, when they published the stills from the Zapruder film in the magazine, they omitted the key frames.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
And they've since been lost, or I'm not sure, probably not lost, but safekeeping somewhere. Someone has them, but
somebody has them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's also
Garrison to get the full frame during a trial in New Orleans.
There's also a video I found, an old video that someone did a few years ago. It was an analyst that actually took that film, broke it down piece by piece to see if there was any editing to it, and he found loads of editing to it.
Yeah.
As far as shadows and just light poles that were just stuck in there, like copied and pasted, almost like they had that type of technology back then, and no one other than like the norm people like that are into this and to go to research would know that. So obviously, if you're not looking for it, you're not going to see it. But once I started looking, I was like, oh, wow. Like, I do a lot of editing and I do a lot of videos, so I know exactly what this is.
Well, and they discuss a lot of these types of things on like Blacklist, the AI, the editing of photographs in order to implicate individuals in crimes or in trysts with other people than their wives or husbands. It is definitely something that I thought was more new, but obviously we are seeing that it has been being done since 1963, as Lindsay had stated, and that just really instills that they can con us anytime they want, and that's why the media really sucks balls, because they are constantly trying to con us.
Yep.
Well, that makes it time for us to climb back into Rupert Murdoch, because I want everybody to hear how wonderful this individual is. And when I say wonderful, I mean that with air quotes.
For real.
I was actually kind of shocked over the research that I came up, and it was a simple Wikipedia search. They are not caring about what they put out there about this guy. And if this is what they put out there, then his actual skeletons in the closet are 1,000,000 times deeper than we know. So It says Keith Rupert Murdoch, born 11th of March, 1931, is an Australian-born American business magnate, investor, and media proprietor. Through his company, News Corp, he is the owner of hundreds of local, national, and international publishing outfits around the world, including the UK, which includes The Sun and The Times. And I know that we've seen the Zodiac write these. I want to believe the Star was involved with the 9/11 attacks and the not the attacks, but the anthrax mailings. The Sun, we've seen that one come out. Do you have information on The Sun, Harriet?
That's much later, but it has to do with John Benet Ramsey's and the things that Jack claims were his actual crime scene photos that ended up in The Sun. So
gotcha.
That's much later. Yeah.
So in the UK, The Sun and The Times. In Australia, he had the Daily Telegraph, the Herald Sun, and the Australian. In the US, the Wall Street Journal and the New York Post. He's a book publisher for HarperCollins and the television broadcasting channels Sky News Australia and Fox News through the Fox Corporation. He was also the owner of Sky until 2018, 21st Century Fox until 2019, and the now defunct News of the World. With a net worth of US $21.7 billion as of the 2nd of March 2022, Murdoch is funny that's when my magazine expires.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Sorry, numbers work in my brain.
Expiration date.
I laughed about the expiration date. I was like, is that how they run these things? Like, okay, we're only going to show these snippets for this long and then it's never going to be seen again. It must disappear. I don't know.
That is weird. I never knew magazines had expiration dates.
Me either. And it says it right underneath. It says display until. So display until 1/7/2022. And after that, no more displaying.
Wow.
Too bad.
Like,
So
this
sad
is
I
what
have it.
we want you to know for now, but later we're going to change the story.
Right. And I actually have 1996, 97, and 98 Inquirers, Star magazines, these trash magazines that include all of the investigation that was going on with John Benet Ramsey. So I can't wait to climb back into them and see exactly what they were saying at that time. Either way, so as of March 2nd, 2022, Murdoch is the 31st richest person in the United States and the 71st richest in the world, according to Forbes magazine. Due to his extensive wealth, influence over media and politics, Murdoch has been described. I called him Murder.
Murder Rock.
Was that a Freudian slip?
Yeah. Okay.
He has been described as an oligarch. Now, when I think of that word, that I don't know. I don't see that as a kind word, I guess.
No.
Well,
actors.
Yeah, it's just one step shy of monopolist.
Yes, 100%. And that's what comes to mind when I read about all of the places that he owns, is that it is a monopoly. I don't care if you give it a different name. These are the type of people who create the laws that if it's incorporated in a different state with a different name, then it's no longer a monopoly when it still damn straight is a monopoly.
Yeah.
And it gets worse because then he's controlling the internet by the time he's made his mega billions. It says
and
actors
he also owned, I think it was Australia newspaper.
Yeah, we're going to get into that because that's a
okay.
very interesting point because he's Australian born American. So he holds dual citizenship at this point. It says after his father, Keith Murdoch, died in 1952, Murdoch took over the running of the News, a small Adelaide newspaper owned by his father. In the 1950s and 60s, Murdoch acquired a number of newspapers in Australia and New Zealand before expanding into the United Kingdom. So maybe this is where our UK interest comes from. I always wonder why these UK people are so hot on the Zodiac stuff when it didn't affect them. They weren't here. They likely don't even have the right information, but they're all up in this business. And some of them seem to know more than we do, which is kind of a what?
Well, and then it's weird because, like, on YouTube, it even it comes up like crime from other countries all of a sudden. And I'm like, because I'll click on them and like just to review it, and then I'm like, wait, this is from another country. Why is this on my news feed? Or it's like so weird how
Right.
they're like all
because I believe that the group we're talking about operates around the world. This isn't, again, these individuals who control the world that have the massive wealth of the world are the ones that are running the world, and they do whatever it is that they please.
Right. And people in Europe and other countries were onto the fact that the murders, assassinations of the 60s were conspiracies. It's American people that were fooled, and that's because of our leaders and the media going with what the leaders told them. And just buying it. The single bullet theory, lone nut assassins. That's what they always want you to believe.
Oh, yeah.
But people in Europe were saying, no, that's bullshit.
Yes, they were. And actually, their news that is produced to them there, because they don't have freedom of speech like we do here in the U.S., they were getting the truth. They were hearing the real news, and we were never seeing that. In the 9/11 events, I spoke to a sheriff who had spent her time over in Saudi Arabia during that whole happenstance and had stated that the news that they were getting there was completely different from what we were being told. here. And I totally believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. Murdoch acquired a number of...
comes out about 9/11, what Trump's going to release. Because
I know.
More than one guy there. Yeah.
So did you have anything to add, Harriet?
No, I'm just remembering when you bring up about 9/11, I was surprised when I started doing some of the other Zodiac things and kept on seeing about the future 9/11 events that were looming, from about 50 years ago. So there was definitely a pre-planned 9/11 event.
Well, there was a previous bomb planted at the towers, like in the base.
Exactly.
And it killed a few people.
1993.
Yes.
Yeah, and they've been having problems with Israel for a very long time, and with Iran as well. And there's another country that's actually involved. That's actually, I think, is behind the whole thing with our government. And I'm pretty sure he was just on TV with Trump not too long ago. I'm pretty sure y'all know who I'm talking about, Netanyahu. So
it's a dirty word over here.
Well, we got solves that are saying as early as 1953 they were planning to destroy the World Trade Center because of papers that were going to be put in there, and it was even before it was built.
Oh yeah,
so,
I've actually found documents of that before it was built. That what you're talking about. Yep.
There we go.
Oh,
can you guys hear me now?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
I got completely kicked out of the show. I got literally, this is the second time. This happened to me just the week before, the week previous to that. I literally got kicked out of my own show. I have no clue what's going on around here. Anyways, I missed everything you guys said. I'm super excited.
We're talking about the 9/11 and and how they've been involved with things before it happened and all that, and how Harriet was connecting it with
No. I do. Yeah, I got the gist of what you guys were talking about because I got kicked out during it. I could still hear you, but I could not actively participate or say anything. So I literally, I'm just glad you guys were there to fill the space when I disappeared. Yeah. All right. Back to Rupert Murdoch. Let's see. Murdoch acquired a number of newspapers in Australia and New Zealand before expanding into the United Kingdom in 1969, taking over the news of the world, followed closely by The Sun in 1974. Murdoch moved to New York City to expand into the U.S. market. However, he retained assets in Australia and the UK. In 1981, Murdoch bought The Times, his first British broadsheet, and in 1985 became a naturalized U.S. citizen, giving up his Australian citizenship to satisfy the legal requirement for U.S. television network ownership. Yep. Bam! There it is.
And
in 1980s.
During that time, before you go on, there's a video, an old footage. It's kind of like a black and white-ish mixed with color, but it's a really good little segment. I can post it in the comments if you'd like, about how he transitioned. And it was like I don't remember who did the little clip, but it's a good one.
You are welcome to put anything you'd like into the comments. That is fine. So it says Murdoch bought The Times, his first British broadsheet, and in 1985, read that. In 1986, keen to adopt newer electronic publishing technologies, Murdoch consolidated his UK printing operations in London, causing bitter industrial disputes. His holding company, News Corporation, acquired 20th Century Fox in 1985, HarperCollins 1989, and the Wall Street Journal in 2007. Wow. Murdoch formed the British broadcast, right? British broadcaster.
Right before America's Most Wanted.
Right before America's Most Wanted. Murdoch formed the British broadcaster B-Sky B in 1990, and during the 1990s expanded into Asian networks and South American television. By 2000, Murdoch's News Corporation owned more than 800 companies in more than 50 countries with a net worth of more than $5 billion. That's disgusting. Again, that's a monopoly. You own 50 you're controlling the majority of the news and the information that the public is hearing, and you're the one that is single-handedly responsible for all of this disinformation, if you will. We're going to hear about some of his dirty doings as we go through this. If I can get myself over to my, come on. There we go. In July 2011, Murdoch faced allegations that his companies, including the News of the World, owned by News Corporation, had been regularly hacking the phones of celebrities, royalty, and public citizens. Disgusting.
Yep.
And
you can thank Hank Asher for that software, bycap.
Oh, is that how he plays into this?
Yep.
Gotcha. And we talked about Hank Asher last week. He was the person that came up with, it was used by the CIA, the program that he created. So yeah, just infiltration of people's private lives, basically. No wonder how he'd get.
Walsh is one of his besties.
Oh, perfect. Now we see how it's all going down. Says Murdoch faced police and government investigations into bribery and corruption by the British government and FBI investigations in the U.S. On July 21st of 2012, Murdoch resigned as director of News International. In September of 2023, Murdoch announced he would be stepping down as chairman of Fox Corp and News Corporation. Many of Murdoch's papers and television channels have been accused of biased and misleading coverage to support his business interests and political allies. And some have linked his influence with major political developments in the UK, US, and Australia. As of September 2024, the Murdoch family is involved in a court case in the US in which his three children, Elizabeth, Prudence, and James, are challenging their father's bid to amend the family trust to ensure that his eldest son, Lachlan, retains control of News Corp and Fox Corp rather than the trust benefiting all of his 6 children, as is specified in its irrevocable terms. So I wanted to bring that up because you and I hit on that just for a second, Nolan. So is it possible for them?
I lost you. We lost Nanette.
Dang.
Oh, yeah.
What is happening? They don't want
I
to
think
talk
you can
about this.
Yeah. I think you can still answer it, Nolan. Is it possible to do something with that irrevocable trust?
Well, you're still alive. As long as you have mental capacity, then you can modify your trust. So you can do what you want, but you have to prove that you're mentally capable. But once you die, then of course,
I know something.
Irrevocable.
I know something about that because my father had it. So, but yeah, you can still adjust it. But I think what she is saying is their children are trying to get around that.
Yeah.
So they would have to prove that he's incapacitated in some function. There's a lot of us in many ways. Politically, he is incapacitated.
Nanette and I have been involved with 2 probate cases, one in San Diego and one here in Sacramento, that deals with those specific issues.
There he is.
You can't keep me down.
Maybe Rupert Murdoch is saying, let's put a thumb on this and, silence Nanette Bardo. But we continued without you. You still answered the question.
Quick question. He's still alive, right, Nanette?
What's that?
Murdoch is still alive, isn't he?
Yep.
I would assume so if they're still suing him. All right. So what did you say about the irrevocable terms?
Yeah. As long as he has mental capacity, legal capacity, then he can revoke, modify, but it has to be done in the proper way, and you have to show that you are mentally competent and able to, do so. But once you die, of course, everything's irrevocable.
So so what does the term irrevocable terms mean?
It just means that once you die, nothing is modifiable. Or once you lose capacity, legal mental capacity, then it's irrevocable.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're thinking maybe he has lost mental capacity, so they're fighting the fact that this change has been made.
That
Gotcha.
By violating the original trust terms, which seem to share everything equally among the 6 kids, and putting the oldest kid primarily in charge, it's showing that maybe he's being suffering undue influence from the older child. Who knows?
Gotcha.
So very
So it
similar
gets
to what we dealt with in San Diego and in the Sacramento case.
correct. Now it gets even more interesting. I think you guys will even trip on this one. Murdoch has a seat on the Strategic Advisory Board of Genie Oil and Gas.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is this a shocker?
And that's where the Bush comes in.
Right.
With the oil. Yep.
Having jointly invested with Lord Rothschild
Yep.
in a 5.5%
there you
stake
go.
in the company, which conducted shale gas and oil exploration in Colorado, Mongolia, Israel, and the occupied Golan Heights.
Yep.
Interesting.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I said.
Oh, he's in the pockets of a lot of people that, as you just talked about, the Epstein people. He's in with them.
He's in with everybody. As I go through this, I'm just never, it doesn't cease to amaze me. In January of 2018, the CMA blocked Murdoch from taking over the remaining 61% of B-Sky B he did not already own over fear of market dominance that could potentialize censorship of the media. He's already done this. His bid for B-Sky B was later approved by the CMA as long as he sold Sky News to the Walt Disney Company, which was already set to acquire 21st Century Fox. However, it was Comcast who won control over B-Sky B in a blind auction ordered by the CMA. Murdoch ultimately sold his 39% of B-Sky B to Comcast. So just keeping it in a group.
Yep.
His News Corporation has subsidiaries. You're going to love this, Lindsay, but I'm sure you already know it. His News Corporation has subsidiaries in the Bahamas, the Cayman Islands, the Channel Islands, and the Virgin Islands. From 1986. Yeah, because you talked about that Bahama connection between John Walsh and the Paradise Hotel. From 1986, the News Corporation's from 1980.
Anyways,
what's that?
I said this is such familiar territory, but keep going.
Oh yeah.
So from 1986, the News Corporation's annual tax bill averaged around 7% of its profits. That doesn't sound like a lot for the amount of money that they were making. That's ridiculous. When the average self-employed person faces a 31% tax rate on their income, and these guys, 7% in taxes.
Billionaires paying 7%. If
Yeah.
that. If that. They rolled off so much.
Right. On the 15th of July, Murdoch attended a private meeting in London with family of Millie Dowler, where he personally apologized for the hacking of their murdered daughter's voicemail by a company he owns. On 16th and 17th of July, News International, I'm getting some feedback. I'm not sure where it's coming from. Nope, not now.
Not mine. Yeah, okay.
Yep. On 16th and 17th of July, News International published 2 full-page apologies in many of Britain's national newspapers. The first apology took the form of a letter signed by Murdoch in which he said, sorry for the serious wrongdoing that occurred. The second was titled, Putting Right What's Gone Wrong, and gave more detail about the steps Okay, I'm still getting feedback. I don't know who needs to mute themselves. Do you have some noise going on in the background, Harriet?
I've been having it the whole time, but if you want to
it just seems to be competing with me right now as I'm speaking. The first apology took the form of a letter signed by Murdoch in which he said sorry for the serious wrongdoing that occurred. The second was titled Putting Right What's Gone Wrong and gave more detail about the steps News International was taking to address the public's concerns. In the wake of the allegations, Murdoch accepted the resignations of Brooks and Les Hinton, head of Dow Jones, who was chairman. And I think we made the connection of Dow Jones to one of the newspapers that was written to in the Atlanta, Georgia child killing cases, which is how this
sounds familiar, that name.
Well,
yeah, this is how
it's the parent company for the Wall Street Journal too.
And are they also in pharmaceuticals and all that other stuff?
Oh yeah, Dow Chemicals and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, because the solve from Lauren Swearingham indicated that Jack had stated he was off the MK Ultra meds, and it mentioned Dow chemicals.
Well, I think that's whenever the reason these are linking in with these solves is because he's coming off that LSD, and then, you know, in the MK Ultra programming, that he's trying to reveal the real truth.
Well, I think he thinks that he's you know, coding it so that people aren't capable of knowing, the average person isn't capable of knowing what he's coming up with, but the solves are saying otherwise. Harriet, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
She muted herself because of the background. But
That's okay.
On MK Ultra. I just finished rereading Chaos, and it goes a lot into MK Ultra. And one of the main guys he writes about, Tom O'Neill writes about, is this guy known as Jolly West. And it turns out that Jolly West was a CIA operative forever and taking directions from Sidney Gottlieb, the one that was behind the death of Frank Olson. So, and Jolly West was at the Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic at the same time that Manson was frequenting it.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Manson ties in. He does, definitely. Mm-hmm.
And that's when Manson started the family in 1967. And Jolly West had an office at the Haight-Ashbury Clinic, the free medical clinic.
I feel like one of the Zodiac greeting cards was a. What's that?
Manson's federal parole officer had an office there too in Haight-Ashbury at the same clinic.
Wow. And I want to say that there was a Jolly Rogers greeting card, right, Harriet?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. And that one I think went to Mel Belli, didn't it?
I don't know. I'd have to go back to look it up.
All I know is I think there's the one that says, "Sorry to hear your ass is a dragon," and no, I think that's the bomb blast, the Jolly Rogers. Anyways, we'll find it.
I think one
last note on Jolly West, he was also a hypnotist. Aside from being one of the top psychiatrists and MK Ultra doctors, he was also a hypnotist.
And his name isn't really Jolly West,
no,
West,
Jolly,
right?
That's his nickname. Joylon, I think, is his real name.
Okay. So it says Murdoch accepted the resignations of Brooks and Les Hinton, head of Dow Jones, who was chairman of Murdoch's British newspaper division when some of the abuses happened. They both deny any knowledge of any wrongdoing under their command. On 27th of February 2012, the day after the first issue of The Sun on Sunday was published, Deputy Assistant Commissioner Sue Akers informed the Leveson inquiry that police are investigating a network of corrupt officials as part of their inquiries into the phone hacking and police corruption. She said that the evidence suggested a culture of illegal payments at the Sun and that these payments allegedly made by the Sun were authorized at a senior level. In testimony on 25th of April, Murdoch did not deny the quote attributed to him by his former editor, The Sunday Times. Harold Evans, I give instructions to my editors all around the world. Why shouldn't I in London? On 1st of May 2012, the Culture, Media, and Sport Committee issued a report stating that Murdoch has not a fit person to exercise the stewardship of a major international company. On July...
Criminal or mentally?
Who knows? This may be what they're fighting over in that trust. On the 3rd of July, 2013, the Exara website and Channel 4 News broke the story of a secret recording. This was recorded by the Sun journalist, and in it, Murdoch can be heard telling them that the whole investigation was one big fuss over nothing, and that he or his successors would take care of any journalist that went to prison. He said, "Why are the police behaving this way? It's the biggest inquiry ever over next to nothing." Wow.
Yeah, sweep it under the rug.
Absolutely, 100%. That leaves us approximately, it looks like 1 minute here before we conclude. I'm going to end it here, even though we still have some more activities that are going on and some more dirty laundry to air for Rupert Murdoch before we conclude and move on into Lindsay's presentation on the connections between this underworld, syndicate, mafia, cartel, all of the good stuff. I want to thank all of you guys for being here. Is there anything you'd like to add last minute?
Have a great weekend, everybody.
I was trying to pull up
just a second ago, I have a chart of all those connections with Murdoch. I was trying to pull it up before and share it with you, but I couldn't get it in time.
Well, it won't be something I'd be able to share now at this point, but we can definitely get it in following this once I put your presentation in for next week. So for now, everybody have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for being here. It's been a great banter once again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.
Good night.
Oh,